What if the shiny badge on your hood is a trap? What if the brand you trust is quietly shrinking, parts are drying up, and your car's value is set to fall off a cliff? Stay with me, because by the end of this countdown, we'll land on the one name that looks strong on the lot and yet could cost owners the most when things go wrong. Number 15, Nissan. In 1999, Nissan got a lifeline from Renault and turned into a volume machine under Carlos Ghosn. Sales spiked, but the chase for market share came with a bill. Heavy fleet sales hurt resale, CVT transmissions grew a reputation for shudder and early failures, and product cycles stretched too long. After the Ghosn scandal hit in 2018, the brand spent years restructuring. Here's why that matters for owners today. Thin operating margins leave little room for error. If a company keeps only a few dollars from each $100 in sales after costs, a big recall can erase a quarter's profit. Nissan has had those: backup camera recalls, tie rod recalls on Sentra for potential bending, and software fixes that park cars until the update lands. Model cuts add more risk. Titan is gone and cheap manuals quietly vanished. When models die, dealer know how fades and parts flow slows. The Altima still returns solid fuel economy, around 32 miles per gallon combined in many trims. And the new Rogue is better to drive than the old one. But resale lags rivals like Toyota and Honda. And CVT worries keep buyers cautious. If you keep a car 8 to 10 years, downtime and depreciation are the real enemies. Nissan's story proves both can pile up fast when a brand is still finding its footing. Number 14, VinFast. This company went from zero to global headlines in a flash. Founded in Vietnam in 2017, it shipped the VF8 to the US in 2023 and promised fast updates, big range, and luxury value. Then, the first wave hit reality. Reviewers found choppy ride quality, vague steering, and buggy software. The early recall that could blank the driver display, meaning speed and warnings could go dark, was a gut punch. A recall means the company or regulator says a defect could affect safety. That often parks your car until parts or software arrive. And with a brand this new, the pipeline is thin. A VF8 can show decent EPA range on paper. But if owners spend weeks waiting on modules or chasing software issues, the numbers don't comfort. Price cuts and incentives tried to pull demand, but those moves tend to crush resale later. Warranty coverage looks great at 10 years in marketing, but support still depends on service bays nearby and parts on the shelf. Without US assembly up and running, federal tax credits are hard to claim, and shipping cars across an ocean adds delay. The risk isn't that the car can't be made to work. It's that every fix takes longer, costs more, and leaves you holding a fast depreciating asset if the brand stumbles again. You thought that was big? Try this next one. Number 13, Mitsubishi. In the 1990s, this brand sold turbo sedans and rally legends. Then came the slide. The US plant closed, model lines shrank, and by the late 2010s, the lineup centered around budget crossovers and the Mirage. The Mirage has been one of the last new cars under 20 grand, with over 35 miles per gallon on the highway. But it's fading out of the US, taking that cheap entry point with it. That leaves the Outlander, Eclipse Cross, and Outlander Sport to carry the load. The current Outlander is roomy and rides well. The plug-in hybrid version can get around 38 miles of electric range and about 26 miles per gallon on gas after the battery drains. That's great for short commutes. But when one model becomes the whole show, every hiccup becomes a brand problem. Recalls over infotainment screens, rear cameras, or module failures can sideline family cars for weeks. Small scale means parts backorders hit harder. Residual value, the price your car holds years later, tends to trail Toyota, Honda, and even Kia. After 5 years, many Outlanders lose more than half their value, while a RAV4 or CR-V keeps more. If you drive rideshare or you depend on a single car, that extra wait for a backordered part isn't just annoying. It's lost income, rental costs, and stress that cheaper monthly payments don't erase. Number 12, Infiniti. The brand launched in 1989 to fight Lexus and BMW with bold design and quiet power. By the mid-2010s, it had a hit with the Q50 and big SUVs. Then, product cadence slows. Sedans aged. The QX50's clever variable compression turbo engine promised V6 punch with 4-cylinder fuel use. But real-world results were mixed. Some owners report 24 to 27 miles per gallon combined, and throttle response can feel odd at low speed. Recalls tied to engine risk on certain years, forced inspections, and in rare cases, engine replacement. That matters because an engine swap is not a one-day fix. It's weeks, loaners, and paperwork. Sales have trended below German rivals, and when a luxury brand loses volume, lenders get tighter and auctions get cold. After 5 years, many Infiniti models hold around half their original price, while Lexus keeps more. The QX60 is nicer than before with a better ride and quiet cabin, and the big QX80 is still a towing champ. But the dealer network is now often paired with Nissan stores, which can mean less bespoke service and longer waits for niche parts. For buyers who want smooth ownership more than flashy power, that math is hard to ignore. Number 11. Chrysler. The brand that once sold everything from the 300-liter cars to town and country vans now sells two models, Pacifica and the fleet-focused Voyager. The 300 sedan bowed out, leaving a minivan brand with a famous badge. The Pacifica Hybrid is smart on paper. You can do around 30 miles on electricity and about 30 miles per gallon when the gas engine runs. That beats any other minivan on fuel use besides the Toyota Sienna Hybrid, which returns about 36 combined without plugs. But the Pacifica PHEV has faced multiple recalls over the years, including risks that led to park outside warnings. When your only family hauler is parked far from your house waiting for a battery or software fix, the stress is real. Depreciation stings too. Compare a $45,000 Pacifica to a $45,000 Sienna over 5 years. The Toyota tends to hold far more of its value, sometimes by 10 points or more, which is thousands of dollars at trade-in. Chrysler's van still offers stone-go seats, smooth ride, and a quiet cabin. Yet one factory and a narrow lineup mean every supply hiccup, tariff shift, or module shortage ripples through fast. If you want predictability, check parts availability and recall history before you sign. Because in a one-model brand, the safety net is thin. Number 10. Alfa Romeo. The comeback story was supposed to start in 2016 with the Giulia and then the Stelvio. Beautiful, fast, and full of Italian drama. The problem is that drama cuts both ways. Early cars had electrical gremlins, infotainment hiccups, and even fuel pump failures that could lead to stalling. A recall can fix a defect, but it can't give a small brand the parts and techs of a big one. With annual US sales often measured in the low tens of thousands or less, parts stocking stays thin. If your dealer has one Alpha Tech and he's out, your car isn't going anywhere. The tonneau plug and hybrid adds a practical angle. It can do around 30 miles on electricity and gets better gas numbers than the Stelvio. But again, scale matters. The Giulia Quadrifoglio is a rocket with a twin-turbo V6, hitting 60 in under 4 seconds, yet it's the base models that build a brand's health. Residuals suffer when buyers fear repairs. Over 5 years, many Alfa sedans and crossovers lose north of 50% of value, while similarly priced BMW and Lexus products do better. The rush you feel on a twisty road is real. So is the wait you might face when an infotainment module fails and the replacement is on a boat. Number 9. Jaguar. Here's where it gets wild. Jaguar's lineup once stretched from the XJ Limo to the FIC-type sports car. Now it's mostly the F-Pace, through a long transition to a promised electric future. The I-Pace was early to market and drove well, but it faced battery heat issues and software updates that shook buyer confidence. The F-Pace itself is a fine drive. Turbo 4 trims return about 24 miles per gallon combined. Supercharged V8 sire are thirsty rockets. But the real problem is momentum. When fresh models slow to a trickle, dealers lose traffic. When dealers lose traffic, used values slide. Owners describe long waits for parts, especially for less common trims. A 5-figure repair on a mid-priced luxury car doesn't feel fair, but when the network is thin, that's how the math lands. Parent company stability helps, but it doesn't shortcut a backordered control unit or refill a pipeline overnight. The brand's reboot could relight the spark. Until then, buying Jag is a bet that your car won't need anything weird. And if it does, that you can afford to wait. Number 8. Maserati. The name still turns heads and the cars still sound like concert halls. But the market is brutal. The Ghibli and Quattroporte sedans are beautiful and fast, 0 to 60 in the 5-second range, but both have aged. The Levante SUV and newer Grecale try to pull in buyers who might pick Porsche, yet reliability and cost of ownership keep biting. Recalls over camera software, suspension components, and fuel systems pull rare cars into crowded service bays. With a small US dealer network, each campaign becomes a queue. A $5,000 shock or an infotainment head unit that needs programming time tie up a lift for days. Depreciation is where the pain is loudest. Some Quattroporte models can lose 60% of value in 5 years. That's like lighting a luxury kitchen on fire. Enthusiasts will accept that for the sound, the feel, and the badge. Families won't. If you're thinking Grecale for daily duty, look hard at warranty fine print, loaner policies, and parts timelines. Because a premium SUV stops feeling premium when a cracked sensor means 3 weeks in a rental Camry. Number 7. Lucid. But wait, this next part changes everything. On paper, Lucid did what the giants couldn't. The Air sedan posts range numbers over 500 miles in some trims and beats most rivals in efficiency. The dual-motor versions hit 60 in the 2s. The cabin is airy and quiet. The problem is scale. A small service network means every recall, every software issue, and every minor body repair gets bottlenecked. Early cars saw issues with contactors. Think of them as heavy-duty switches in the battery pack that could cut power. That's a terrifying way to learn what redundancy means. Over-the-air updates help, but not if a module breaks mid-flash. The company's backers include a deep-pocketed sovereign fund which has kept cash flowing, but every price cut to spur demand makes yesterday's buyers feel burned and pushes resale down. A $70,000 to $90,000 luxury EV that loses half its value in a few years is common today, but Lucid's sharp cuts made that slope steeper. If you live near a service center, love the range, and plan to drive it to the ground, it can make sense. If you need predictable resale or you're 200 miles from the nearest tech, the risk curve changes fast. Number 6. Karma Automotive. The modern Karma story begins with the Fisker Karma, a gorgeous plug-in sedan that arrived, dazzled, and then died with its parent in bankruptcy. New owners revived the platform as the Karma Revero and then iterated. The cars are still beautiful. They still glide in electric silence with engine backup, and they are still rare. Rare isn't a feature when you need a headlight module that must be coded to the car, or when a turn signal recall needs specific lamp housings made in small batches. A brand that sells in dozens or hundreds per year can't stock parts like a brand that sells in tens of thousands. That means every fix is special order and every outage is a big share of the fleet. Warranty can cover the cost. It can't give you the month of lost time back. If your dream garage includes a boutique EV with concept car looks, know that you're also buying boutique supply chains and boutique delays. That's fun when the sun is out. It's less fun when your service advisor says, "We're waiting on the supplier." Number 5. Lordstown Motors. This one is simple. The company built a handful of electric pickups for sale and then filed for bankruptcy in 2023. Some trucks were bought back. A tiny number remain. Parts support is uncertain, software support is thin, and there is no dealer network to speak of. If you find a used Lordstown Endurance for the price of a compact car, assume you will be the mechanic and the parts buyer. For fleets and contractors, that's a non-starter. The good news is that the lesson is clear. When a brand hasn't proven scale, don't use it for work you can't put on hold. Number 4. Faraday Future. The FF91 looked like a spaceship and promised supercar acceleration with lounge seats in back. The company promised high-end concierge ownership and launched with Hollywood flair. Then reality hit, production trickled, money ran tight, and only a tiny number of cars reached customers. A recall on a dozen or so cars for an airbag light sounds small until you realize that's a big slice of total deliveries. Over-the-air updates can fix bugs, but they can't expand a service network overnight or build parts stock that never got a chance to exist. There is a world where Faraday retools, secures funding, and becomes a quiet luxury player. But for most buyers, the safer read is this. The smaller the fleet, the bigger each problem feels. If you want exclusivity, buy a limited Bentley. If you want a tech startup's car, treat it as a toy, because once the warranty and goodwill end, you're the engineer. Number 3. Polestar. Let me tell you this, the idea was smart. Use Volvo's safety and dealer base, add clean design, and build EVs with a Scandinavian twist. The Polestar 2 is quick in dual motor trims, with 0 to 60 in the low 4s. Single motor cars can return decent efficiency, but the global trade board moved. In 2024, the US raised tariffs on EVs made in China. The Polestar 2, built there, got hit. That meant price pressure for US buyers and more uncertainty on future supply. At the same time, the company leaned on new loans and cut costs as Volvo reduced support. That doesn't break a brand, but it does raise risk for owners, especially on resale. Software quality has been a mixed bag. Over-the-air updates are common. Some owners report great results. Some report cars bricked in update loops, waiting on a dealer reflash. A rear camera glitch doesn't sound serious until it fails your inspection or makes daily parking a pain. Polestar 4 and 3 promise more range and luxury. If the company nails US assembly and keeps software stable, the story can flip. Until then, compare total cost of ownership to Tesla and Hyundai Kia. Those brands have bigger fleets and thicker parts pipelines here. That matters when things go wrong. Number 2. Aston Martin. A century of racing and grand tourers. A sound that makes your neck hairs stand up, and balance sheets that shake investors. The modern era saw huge investments, new leadership, and tech partnerships to catch up on electronics and engines. The DB12 is fast and pretty, and the DBX SUV puts Aston into the family lane. But the business is still small. Just a few thousand cars a year in a world where Porsche moves hundreds of thousands. That means parts are often built and shipped in small runs. Owners report waits for suspension pieces, interior modules, and trim bits that take months. Electrification has slipped. Full EV plans moved later, and hybrids will fill the gap. That means you pay supercar money for older gas tech with layers of software to meet new rules. Depreciation can be brutal. A well-spec'd DBX that leaves the showroom at $220,000 can drop six figures in a few years. If demand cools, if you buy one, go in with eyes open, set aside a healthy maintenance fund. Check dealer capacity, and make sure you can live without it for a while, when a rare part becomes a paperweight on backorder. Number 1. Ram. And here's where it gets wild, because this is the brand you see everywhere. Ram trucks are loved for smooth ride quality, big towing numbers, and comfy cabins. The coil spring rear suspension makes daily driving easier than many rivals. Hemi V8 6 have grunt. The new twin-turbo inline-6 offers strong torque with better fuel numbers. But mass scale cuts both ways. When a brand sells hundreds of thousands of trucks a year, recalls hit like a storm. Backup cameras that can go dark. Tailgates that can open by themselves. ABS modules that may fail. Recalls are there to fix safety risks, but while you wait for a part, your work truck isn't earning. Some owners report Uconnect 5 display reboots or Apple CarPlay glitches that lock up lane, keep, or camera views until a restart. An over-the-air fix can help. It can also brick a head unit if power cuts mid-update. On fuel, a V8 4X4 Ram 1500 can average in the mid-teens, while the 6-cylinder can do low 20s. That gap matters as fuel swings. Resale is good on clean trucks, but Carfax records with open campaigns knock bids down. The shift away from V8 seats toward new turbo 6s and plug-in variants adds another layer of risk. Early engines and new high-voltage systems are complex. First-year tech tends to shake out with real customers. If your truck is your business, that's not the beta test you want to run. But what if I told you the common thread across all 15 isn't doom? It's time. Time waiting on parts. Time arguing over loaners, time watching value slide because a badge lost momentum. Operating margin is just how much a company keeps from each $100 after costs. Low margin means little cushion when things break. Residual value is what your car is worth years later. Weak resale means you pay more to leave sooner. Recalls sound scary, but they're also a sign a brand is fixing issues. The risk isn't the notice in your mailbox. It's the weeks your car sits while the new part is stuck at a warehouse. So how did we get here? Volume brands chased fleet sales and cheap finance in the 2010s, then got whiplash from chip shortages and shipping costs in 2020-2022. Small luxury makers tried to sprint into EVs with startup budgets and hit the wall. Tariffs and factory closures shifted which cars qualify for tax credits and which do not. Consumers got smarter. We check depreciation charts like weather apps. We look at recall rates instead of horsepower alone. And that brings us back to the hook at the start. The costliest mistake isn't always buying a bad car. Most modern cars are fast enough, safe enough, and efficient enough for daily life. The costliest mistake is buying into a weak safety net. It's choosing a brand with thin margins, thin dealers, and thin parts support, then needing help at the worst time. You can dodge that. Here's the simple checklist that separates a headache from a win. Before you buy, look up 5-year resale for the exact trim you want and compare it to 2 rivals. Ask the service manager how many loaners they keep, how long common parts take, and how they handle backorders. Check recall history for the last 3 model years and ask if the current car shares those parts. Drive the car on a bad road and test the tech you'll use daily. If you tow, plug in a trailer at the dealer and test the camera views and brake gain. If it passes those tests, you just lowered your risk. If it doesn't, there are other keys on the rack. You thought this would be a list of losers. It's not. It's a map. Some roads are under construction. Some are smooth highways. If you know which is which, you spend more time driving and less time waiting for a part that never seems to arrive. And if you want to go even deeper, the next thing that keeps cars alive isn't a badge or a balance sheet. It's heat. Cooling systems kill engines long before brands do. That's the story we're telling next. Because avoiding one big bill is worth more than any badge on a hood.